Hello everyone, my name is James Hampton with the Medgar Library in the Jackson Hinds Library System, and I want to share with you today an autobiography that I really enjoyed a lot. It's here in our collection, and if you remember from school, biographies are books about a person's life, and an autobiography is a person writing about their own life. And that's one of my favorite types of books. I've enjoyed them since I was a child, and I want to share this one with you today. It's called With Head and Heart, the autobiography of Howard Thurman. Now, Howard Thurman, when he was 7 years old, he said, "One thing is sure, when I grow up and become a man, I will never have anything to do with the church." Now, it's an interesting story behind that. I won't get into it, but it's here in the book. And the thing that's funny about it is that 50 years later, Howard Thurman was cited by Life magazine as one of the 12 great preachers of his century. Howard Thurman was a major influencer in the from 1900s to 1981. He was an influencer on Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. used to actually carry one of his books around all the time, everywhere he went. They were actually friends. When Martin Luther King actually got stabbed, Howard Thurman is the one who told him take a couple extra weeks off. Martin Luther King Jr. was ready to go back into the struggle. Howard Thurman said, "No, I have intuition that you need to take at least about 2 more weeks and rest up." All kinds of stories like this are in this book. He was actually a contemporary of Martin Luther King's dad. They went to school together at Morehouse College. This being HBCU week, you get to journey with Howard Thurman through his time at Morehouse College in the 20s and see what it was like for those people who had worked so hard to get an education, and you can see how dedicated they were to educating themselves and bettering themselves. He went to Rochester Theological Seminary in New York. He went to Columbia. He taught at Howard. One interesting story in this book is his encounter with Mahatma Gandhi. He actually toured India for a long time with his wife, maybe 4 months, where they went around speaking engagements, and Mahatma Gandhi sent him a letter and said, "Hey, I want to talk to you." And they sat down and had a 3-hour conversation about the struggles that Mahatma Gandhi was going through. Mahatma Gandhi really grilled him with questions about African Americans in the United States and religion and anything else that came to mind. And one of the interesting things that came out of that conversation was, and I quote, he said, "Before we left, Mahatma Gandhi, said that with a clear perception, it could be through the Afro-American that the unadulterated message of nonviolence would be delivered to all men everywhere." And that proved to be prophetic later on. There's so much I could name about this book as far as who's in it, who he encountered. Let's see, who can we name drop? We've got Josephine Baker. I've already said Martin Luther King Jr. and Mahatma Gandhi. There's Alan Patton, the writer of the South African writer. He went to Africa and met kings and chiefs and had an encounter with the talking drums. If you've never heard of those, you have an encounter here where the demonstration was, make the drum tell this man to go across the street and pick up this can and bring it back to me. And they make the drums talk and tell the people what to do. And he said, "Okay, tell the drum to go grab that police officer and tell him to come back here." And he could make the drums talk and tell him what to do. So you have all kind of interesting things that happen in this book. But really, the main claim to fame that Howard Thurman has is the Church for the Fellowship of All Peoples. And that was the first integrated interdenominational church in the country on a major level. And they were innovative in so many different ways in terms of how they worshiped and what they did, bringing people together of all faiths and all different creeds and colors and races. And I just would like to recommend this book, With Head and Heart, the autobiography of Howard Thurman. and all the autobiographies in our collection. Just think of the things you can learn by studying someone's life from their own mouth, so to speak. Thank you so much for your attention, and have a great day.